ABC General Hospital spoilers show that when Portia realizes something's off, it's not with loud alarms or a big scene. It comes as a slow, stifling cold that slips under her skin. The DNA results she holds feel almost too clear, too certain. Like they've been wrapped up neatly, something her life has never offered without a price. She looks over the document once more, going through every line, every percentage, every cold confirmation. But the numbers start to feel like lies pretending to be science. The shock doesn't burst out right away. It collapses inward instead. If those results were changed, then the truth about her unborn child was taken from her and turned against her. That realization cuts deeper than any romantic betrayal or the end of a marriage. It means someone got into the closest part of her life and changed it. As she thinks back to the moment Britt handed over the envelope, she finally notices the hold in Britt's voice. The way she kept her tone even and how she made sure not to meet her eyes. It wasn't about professionalism. It was all about control. Britt didn't tell her. She was following the instructions. And standing behind those instructions is Sidwell. The pattern is clear now. Sidwell has twisted courts before. He has paid off officials, swayed decisions, and twisted the legal system to shield himself. Why would medical results mean so much to him? They wouldn't. They would come in handy. If Curtis is wrongly named as the father, it leads to a lot of emotional turmoil. Jordan is currently unstable. Old wounds open up again. Loyalties break apart. If Isaiah is the one named instead, Portia's credibility falls apart and her relationships fall apart in a whole different way. Either way, it causes a distraction and leaves you open, with emotions clouding the air so much that Sidwell can slip by without anyone noticing. The DNA test wasn't really about biology at all. It was all about leverage. Portia stands right in the middle and suddenly it hits her. She's been moved around like a chess piece. The shock starts turning into anger. Every conversation she's had since getting those results feels tainted. All the tears cried, every sorry said. And every delicate attempt to make up might have been resting on something untrue. The real harm comes not from the document itself, but from the wave of twisted emotions it sets off afterward. At the same time, Britt getting more involved makes the horror even worse. Britt isn't careless. She knows what can happen if someone messes with medical records. If she changed the test, it wasn't done on a whim. It was forced. Sidwell has gotten a tighter grip on her, and this might be the cost she had to accept. But just because something is forced doesn't mean it leaves no mark. The hospital's integrity is now in question. Trust breaks. Science starts to feel questionable. And the disaster is becoming bigger than just Portia. Portia starts digging quietly, asking for retests, checking timestamps, and going over the chain of custody logs for the samples. The more she looks into it, the more little odd things show up, things like small delays in the paperwork, access logs that don't have a clear reason, and signatures that seem real but kind of staged. That's all it took to confirm her worst fear. The result was changed. And that confirmation breaks the emotional dam she's been keeping shut. Curtis needs to know. Jordan needs to be faced directly. Isaiah needs to know the truth. But if you expose the manipulation, it's basically like declaring war on Sidwell. If he's already come this far, he probably won't think twice about taking things even further. Portia realizes now that this was a calculated move. It was a deliberate action meant to shake up several lives all at once. Sidwell doesn't make a big loud attack. He wears away slowly, almost without a sound. He twists systems to make them work for him. This fake DNA result shows that he doesn't respect any limits. The real problem isn't just the change test, but what it says he can get to anywhere. He has the ability to change the truth. He's able to change someone's identity at its core. When the exposure hits, and it definitely will, it won't be something anyone can control. Curtis won't just feel let down by what happened. He'll also feel hurt because the trust he worked so hard to rebuild was so fragile. Jordan will realize she was played as nothing more than a distraction. Isaiah will hold people responsible. Britt is going to be right in the middle of a storm that might leave her shaken. The real danger lies within Portia herself. The shock has turned into determination. She's not going to let anyone control her like that anymore. She won't let her child's identity be used as a pawn in someone else's struggle for control. Sidwell thinks he stirred up chaos just to grab control. What he might have done instead is start a war that's harder to control than he expected. When a mother finds out that her child's truth has been taken and twisted for someone's gain, her fear turns into something much darker. It turns into nonstop payback. And this time, the explosion won't be quiet. Sidwell isn't the kind of guy to just wait around until he's backed into a corner. If he feels that Jordan is quietly gathering evidence against him, keeping an eye on what he does following the money, and questioning who's really on his side, he won't just wait around hoping she makes a mistake. He is going to make the first move. That's just who he is. If he thinks Jordan is set on taking him down, then the way he sees it, the smart move isn't to defend himself, but to find some leverage. There's a scary chance that Sidwell has already started putting together a counterattack aimed right at stopping Jordan before she even gets the chance to make a move. If he tampered with the paternity results about Portia's pregnancy, It wasn't just a random act of cruelty, it was a calculated move. By changing something as personal and intense as who a child's father is, Sidwell manages to hold emotional power over several people all at once. Curtis, Portia, Isaiah, and the most important one, Jordan. If Isaiah is really the biological father, and Curtis has thought differently all along, the emotional impact would be really hard to handle. Curtis would feel like he'd been betrayed. Portia's credibility would fall apart. Jordan would find themselves stuck in a situation with no good options. If she finds proof that Sidwell messed with the results and chooses to call him out, Sidwell might fight back by making the whole thing public in a way that really hurts Curtis emotionally. He might say that Jordan's interference was what brought the truth to light. He might say that her fight against him is the reason Curtis lost the child he thought was his. That's the clever part and the harsh part of the strategy. It changes what should be justice into blame. Jordan has to figure out if taking down Sidwell is worth the mess it might cause. Would she take the chance of being the one who causes Curtis to lose the future he's poured his heart into? Would she? To be okay with taking the blame for setting that truth off. Even though it was Sidwell who actually pulled the strings, Sidwell feeds off that kind of moral paralysis. And right in the middle of this web is Britt. Britt isn't just someone who's reluctantly taking part anymore. She's both a liability and a witness. If she gave Sidwell proof that Isaiah is the father, if she saw the actual data before changing the report, then she's got information that could ruin him. That's what makes her dangerous. Sidwell doesn't stick around with dangerous assets for very long. The tension around Britt is building. She's stuck caught between speaking out and staying quiet. If she admits to the manipulation, she might face backlash from Sidwell. If she stays quiet, she's basically letting the emotional damage happen. Every day she waits, the danger around her grows. Sidwell might start keeping a closer eye on her, watching her moves more carefully and making sure she remembers what could happen if she betrays him. Just having Cullum around is enough to keep fear alive. This is where the next shock starts to take shape. If Jordan keeps pushing with her investigation, Sidwell might spill just enough of the truth to shake her up personally. If Britt waits too long, she might become a target, discredited, threatened, or even worse. The paternity twist isn't the last big shock. It's just the setup. The real power doesn't lie in the changed outcome itself, but in when it's revealed. As the walls start to close in, Britt finds herself facing the toughest choice she's ever had to make. She had to choose keep quiet to protect herself or speak up about Sidwell and risk losing everything. Either way, the consequences don't stay just within private relationships anymore. They're spreading out, going public, and getting unstable. General Hospital seems to be moving toward a reveal that's not just about figuring out who the father is, but also showing who's really been calling the shots behind the scenes. And when that moment comes, the fallout won't just shake Jordan. It's going to put Britt in danger, crush Curtis, and prove that Sidwell's influence is way more planned out than anyone thought. The shock isn't sneaking up quietly. It's happening in a planned way. The tension surrounding Britt has finally hit a breaking point, and the consequences are very real now. If Curtis finds out that the DNA results were tampered with, especially if he learns Britt had anything to do with changing the truth about Portia's child, there's no way he'll stay calm about it. Curtis doesn't act out violently on a whim, but when it comes to family, he's fiercely protective. Learning that his feelings might have been based on lies could set off a burst of anger he won't be able to hold back. In that moment, Britt found herself right in the middle of his anger. Trapped not just by what he was blaming her for, but by the sting of betrayal. If Curtis loses his cool and confronts her in public or gets physical, it won't just be about the test results. It's basically about humiliation, broken trust, and feeling like you're being used as a pawn. Britt, already feeling fragile living in Sidwell's shadow, was about to be pushed right to the edge. That confrontation changed everything, not only how she was seen in Port Charles, but also how she felt inside. The truth is, Britt isn't acting freely. She's working under pressure, at risk. The control over it is getting tighter every day. Sidwell doesn't ask for things, he gives orders. If Britt changed the results, she probably did it because she was pressured. But using force doesn't stop her from facing criticism from the public. It doesn't protect her from Curtis's anger. It doesn't change the fact that she broke professional ethics and personal trust. This is where the adjustment starts. If Curtis lashes out, whether with words or actions, it sets things in motion, not only to stir anger, but to spark awareness. Britt might start to realize that keeping quiet isn't a way to get by anymore. The very thing she did to protect herself from Sidwell's control might actually put her at more risk from everyone else. She finds herself stuck between a cunning manipulator and an angry man who's convinced she ruined his future. And even with all the fear, something starts to change underneath. Britt wants more and more to break free from Sidwell's grip. Being attacked or accused in front of everyone could spark a fresh determination within her. She never decided to be Sidwell's tool. She never set out to cause emotional destruction. Really, she's just been trying to get by in a game she never signed up for. But surviving has meant losing some of our dignity. And that cost is getting way too hard to handle. The story's tension is starting to spread out more. If Britt tries to break free and reveal Sidwell's manipulation, she turns into a threat to him. Sidwell doesn't let threats last very long. The more she shows she's independent, the riskier things get for her. Cullum's surveillance might ramp up. Warnings might become clear. The message is simple: follow the rules or face the consequences. But Britt isn't just driven by fear anymore. She's acting out of desperation. When people are desperate, their actions can become hard to predict. Unpredictability shakes up power structures. If Britt comes out and admits she was forced to change the results, it's going to cause a huge explosion. Curtis will need to face the truth that his anger was aimed in the wrong direction. People will start to believe Jordan's suspicions about Sidwell. Portia's feelings are about to take a different turn, and Sidwell's steady grip is starting to slip. This isn't just about a single confrontation. It's really about changing how things line up. Britt, shifting from being a controlled participant to a whistleblower, changes the whole situation. If Curtis goes through with the attack, it might actually be the thing that drives her to rebel. And once she pushes back, Sidwell no longer holds his quiet power. The situation is unstable right now. Every interaction feels full of energy. Every conversation has its risks. The balance of power just isn't steady anymore. As Britt gets closer to openly challenging Sidwell, the whole system he built on secrecy and intimidation starts to shake. The explosion is coming. The real question is if Britt will make it through.